people, today I am bringing you my very first book chat. This is actually very fitting. These are the first books that I bought. The first ever book that I bought actually is in this series, and it was the first books that I experienced wanting to read the next one, not wanting it to end, and they're so good. And those are the 39 Clues by various authors with very, very cool spines. These books I first read when I was in 4th grade. I was 10 or 11 and I loved it so much. Exactly what young me would love. I still love these books. They're part of a great string of memories, and today I will be discussing these with you. This is perfect if you've never ever heard of this series and you want to know more. It's perfect if you've heard of this series but have no idea what they're about, or you just want to see a video about books, and here I am. So, the first book is The Maze of Bones by Rick Riordan, One False Note number 2 by Gordon Corman. This is actually, like I've mentioned, the very first book I bought for myself. The pages are yellowing, number 2. The Sword Thief number 3 by Peter Larangis. Beyond the Grave number 4 by Jude Watson. The Black Circle number 5 by Patrick Corman. This is actually my favorite one because it's set in Russia, and I am obsessed with Russia even before these books, and it's just so great. In Too Deep by Jude Watson, number 6. The Viper's Nest, number 7 by Peter Larangis again. I really like this cover. I have this fascination with snakes, and it's just so pretty. The Emperor's Code, number 8 by Gordon Corman. Storm Warning by Linda Sue Park, number 9. And the final one, Into the Gauntlet, number 10 by Margaret Peterson Haddix. An amazing conclusion to an amazing series. I know everyone says that, but it's true. You can actually end the series on book number 10, but like me, you just get so emotionally invested. You want to know what happens to these people after the end of the events in book number 10. And the in-between book, Vespers Rising, by Rick Riordan, Peter Larangis, Gordon Corman, and Jude Watt. These books take place all over the world: Russia, Egypt, Australia, South Africa, France. They just travel so much. When it comes to a category, they're definitely middle grade. I'm not sure a specific category, adventure / mystery, and they're so fun to read. So, before this story happens in this series, there is a premise, I like to call it. And this premise is revealed only in the 11th book, Vespers Rising. And this event that I will be discussing does not spoil anything that happens in these books. This actually gets you very pumped for reading these series. So, let's get started. This book is composed of 4 different short stories, and the events that take place in the first one is what I'll be discussing. They took place in 1507, and this is like amazing. When I read this, which is the in-between book, in between the first series and the second series, and it's just such a twist. I love it. And it doesn't spoil anything, so yeah. On 1507, there is this family: Gideon Cahill, Olivia Cahill, and their 4 children: Luke, Thomas, Catherine, and Jane. And these 4 children all live together. They're happy. However, some of them don't get along. Like, seriously don't get along. This is not just sibling fights and sissy stuff. No, they just don't like each other. So this person, Gideon Cahill, the father of all Cahills, he is trying to find a cure for the Black Death. I believe a very strong sickness that is going on at the time. And so he comes across a formula composed of 39 ingredients. And this formula enhances every part of your being. Your brains, your bronze, your astute kind of senses, your creativity, everything about you gets better. And so he tells about this formula to someone he shouldn't have told, which I will not be saying who because it spoils. This person basically sends a bunch of people to Gideon's house and sets the place on fire. Gideon is trapped inside, but before this happens, he knows this will happen. He immediately regrets telling this person. he gives each of his children a small portion of the formula. Each of their kids has the formula, 4 kids, 4 bits of formula with some of the 39 ingredients. The house gets set on fire, Gideon dies, Luke just flees, Thomas and Jane, I believe, go away in a rowboat together because their mother insists on it, and Catherine also just flees. So they flee and their mother is just there mourning, and that is exactly where I'm going to stop talking. And so after a while, Thomas and Jane split apart. Each of them takes their formula. Catherine takes her formula, and her part of the 39 ingredients enhances her brains. She gets smarter, more intelligent, math, calculus, science, everything. She just becomes the mother of the Ekaterina branch. So this branch is inventors and people who made a mark in history because of something they created. So Mary Curie, Thomas Edison, Nikola Tesla, that type of person is an Ekaterina. These branches also are represented by a animal. The Ekaterina animal is a dragon. The color is yellow. This is a card. These books come with cards, but basically this is what the Ekaterina dragon looks like. I myself am an Ekaterina. Right when I got these books, I went on the website and they tell you which branch, and I am apparently a smart one, so I'm Ekaterina. I love dragons, so Jane, the youngest, took her formula and was enhanced with creativity. So painting, singing, acting, all of these famous people derive from Jane, who can sing, paint, and everything. So famous people, probably William Shakespeare is the only one I remember, Harry Houdini, that type of people who are famous because they are creative and artistic. The Janus are represented by a green crest with a wolf. I think you can see it. And this card is Frankenstein. So Frankenstein's probably a Janus or whoever wrote Frankenstein. Luke took his formula, and I have never been very clear on what the Lucian are. I think they're famous murderers, famous kind of deceived spies, infiltrated agents, CIA, that type of stuff is what Lucians are. So I believe his formula enhanced him with the cunning and things and feline, and you get me. Obviously the Lucian crest is 2 snakes wrapped around a sword. Very fitting, I believe, for these type of people. It's red, unfortunately. Thomas took his part of the formula and it enhanced everything in his physical body. He got more athletic, he got stronger, and every single famous athletic sports person derives from him. Exactly the opposite of me. And so Thomas is represented by a blue polar bear, also very fitting. I actually forgot I have this book, the Agent Handbook, and it actually says a great deal about the branches, and since I don't know much about the Lucians, I'll be reading from here. So, founded by Luke Cahill, the Lucians are master strategists, the best codebreakers, and the sneakiest branch of the Cahill family. They're also the wealthiest, the filthiest of the world's most filthy rich. But power is what really drives the Lucian branch, which is why the vast majority of world leaders come from the Lucian families. The U.S. Diplomatic Corps, for instance, is riddled with Lucian agents. Born with a sense of how to get and use power, Lucians also know how to keep enemies under control. If you are going up against a Lucian operative, make sure you have a medical kit full of antidotes at the ready. You'll never know when you might need it, so this is kind of childish. They're telling you how to handle every single one of the branch. The other branches are actually very self-explanatory. The Lucian is the only one that kind of really confuses. These also have it also has history on the founders. So the eldest of Gideon Cahill's 4 children, Luke, felt that he was entitled to know all his father's secrets, so the history is all in here. I will not be reading this. So that was it for the pre-premise, I call it. So on to what happens in this series right here. So the first book opens with Grace Cahill on her dying bed. And as she takes her last breath, she calls in her lawyer and very dramatically says, to change her will to the alternative version. The lawyer adds that it's very dangerous, blah blah blah, and she says that they left her no choice. Things like that immediately grab you. She passes away, epilogue finishes, and we get introduced to the series' main characters. So we have Dan Cahill and Amy Cash. So Dan is 11 years old, very energetic. He likes ninjas and action and blood and gore, and that's Dan. Then we have Amy, who, might I add, was my very first and to this date only fictional crush. She is not only very pretty, we have some model pictures of her on the cards and on the books, but she loves libraries and books and snuggling with a cat. She hates crowds, publicly speaking, that kind of stuff, kind of like me. So that's Amy, very introverted, shy. These kids are at their grandmother's funeral, Grace. And Grace calls upon a lot of people to hear her will. In this will is posed a question. As the blurb on the back of the first book carefully explains, $1 million or a clue. What would happen if you discovered that your family was one of the most powerful in human history? What if you were told that the source of the family's power was hidden around the world in the form of 39 clues? What if you were given a choice? Take $1 million and walk away, or get the first clue. If you're Amy and Dan Cahill, you take the clue and begin a very dangerous race. So that pretty much sums up the funeral and the will reading. They take the clue, a bunch of other people take the clue, so they're divided up into teams. All these teams are in a particular branch. I'm not going to get into individuals. I would like to, but that would just take up all of your time. Probably in a spoiler part of this discussion, I will get more in these series, which are just great, as I've mentioned throughout this video. They're just perfect for a middle grade person who loves to get on adventures, and these are actually very realistic. You get so emotionally invested in these. There are character deaths, and there is a bunch of other stuff that you just end up loving. The books have been coming out after the 10th, 11th book, and I just haven't been able to keep up. There are already 2 more series out, so Cahill's vs. Vespers, there are 6 books, I think. And then the Unstoppable series, I believe, just came out October 2013. The books are currently coming out, and I really, really wanted to read them. But because I recently got into BookTube, there are just so many more books that I want to buy. But for the sake of my childhood, I will be finishing Dan and Amy's adventures once I get money, you know, like money to spend on books. So that was my 39 clues kind of discussion. I hope you liked it. I hope I clearly explained what these books are about. If you have any questions about this book, if you were recommending to someone and you don't know if they like it, please ask away. Anything I will answer in the comments below. See you next time for more. Bye! Yeah. That's it. No. Each of his children. Where is it?